Every now and then, I'll cross paths with a random stranger, and after a brief encounter with them, I leave feeling compelled to get to know them better. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. The people I've experienced this with don't really seem to have that much in common at all, but I can tell you literally dozens of stories of happenstance encounters with strangers that have led to purposeful follow-up visits, and many of those follow-up visits that have led to friendships. I bet it happens to me 2 to 3 times per year. Maybe I'm weird. While I can't tell you what it is that compels me, the draw is there, and it's noticeable when it happens. I've learned to lean into these little nudges, and I've had the real blessing of getting to know some very special people as a result of this seemingly random interpersonal magnetism. This is even the story of how I got to know many of my previous podcast guests, including Zuzana Kajuch, Josh Alley, Jess Haynie, Joshua Bingaman, to name a few. That's also the story of how I met today's guest, Lee Nusbaum. What started as a random purchase on Facebook Marketplace has become an unlikely friendship, though he may not claim me as such. Lee is a fine example of what I would call a real man, someone who has committed himself to serving his family, his community, and his creator over a long lifetime. A man who is proud of his accomplishments while also being willing to own his mistakes, and who is strong in his convictions while being open to changing his mind. I hope you'll enjoy this visit as much as I did. This is Lee Nusbaum.
I want to cover in roughly an hour.
Holy cow.
I've been watching you, Lee.
Uh-oh.
I got lots of questions for you.
Uh-oh.
No, I'll tell you that so much of my friendship time that I spend since I've moved to Bastrop County has been with older guys because of the breakfast group, because most of my neighbors around my property are older families.
Right.
And I've developed a real unique friendship with my grandpa, who you met.
Yeah.
Remember my grandpa?
Very nice man.
Yeah. And it's been interesting for me going into my 40th year. I'm 40 now.
Mm-hmm. You're still a kid.
But yeah, spending time with older gentlemen it's like the best perspective you can get, because I spend a lot of time with younger people too through work stuff.
Right.
Where I'm more of the elder.
Right.
I don't like being in that position. I'm not yet comfortable with that. You know what I mean?
You will be.
Do you mind me asking your age?
No, I'm 78.
78.
Yep.
When's your birthday? When are you 79?
September 22nd.
September 22nd.
Yeah, I feel like I'm 108.
Why?
Hard work.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah, this working on this property, we've been cutting drill stem.
Okay.
And a stick of drill stem is like 184 pounds, and it's like 30 feet long.
30 feet, and how big around?
It's 2 3/4, I believe.
Okay.
And so we carry this drill stem to the saw, and then we cut it, and then we have to carry it back. And we did that week before last, all week. And that like wore me out.
Yeah.
That one I had to recover from that one.
That's a lot at any age.
It is.
How heavy is one stick of drill stem?
I think it's about 184 pounds.
Good grief.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't realize how thick that stuff is.
No, and try to drill a hole in it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing at my flagpole at home. I want to fix my flagpole so I can break it over instead of having to climb up on top of my fifth wheel to get to the top of it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to drill a hole. I finally got a hole through one side of it, but the other side, just so far, I haven't made it.
You almost need a torch.
Yeah,
for that kind of work.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to torch it and then clean it up.
At what age did you feel like? Well, maybe at what ages? Maybe it's multiple ages. Which birthdays do you remember feeling, oh, this is different? This is a different age than
this last one.
The last one.
Yeah.
78.
Yeah.
What about 78?
It's like I'm slowing down.
Really?
Yeah. I'm starting to feel. My legs are starting to feel more.
Yeah.
Used to I could go all day and not bother me a bit. Now I start getting tired about 3 o'clock.
Yeah. I start getting tired at 3 o'clock, and I'm 40. What does that say about me? Yeah. It's time with kids in the house.
Oh yeah,
adds to that for sure.
Yeah, but that's the biggest one. Just feeling feeling getting tireder
Yeah.
easier. I told my wife the other day, I said, I need some vitamins. I need some energy.
Yeah, there's no time to start that's better than
Yeah,
78.
these guys are working me to death.
Yeah. 40 was the first age, and it wasn't so much the way I felt, it was the number itself.
Yeah,
It was the first age that you realize, okay, I can't, there's no like giving an excuse, well, I'm only 39. You can't
right.
say I'm only 40 to anybody and be taken seriously.
Yeah.
You're a 40-year-old man, grow up. So it was
Yep.
the first age that I have had where I guess 25 had a little bit of a sense of that, where I felt
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm probably a grown up now at 25. At 40, for sure, you realize, okay,
Right.
all the childish stuff that I'm still doing probably needs to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in my breakfast group, we actually talked about that this week. 80 for most of them was the first age where they thought like, okay, 80 is,
Yeah.
I really am older now.
Yeah.
Now that I'm 80.
I'm getting close to that.
Yeah. So you were in law enforcement professionally. When you tell people what you did for a living, do you tell them law enforcement or do you tell them something else?
Yeah.
You say
Yeah.
law enforcement.
35, pretty much 35 years.
35 years.
Yes.
And you went from Leander to U.S. Marshals, you said?
For about a year and a half. I worked in the court security part.
I gotcha.
And then from there, I was so bored.
Oh, really?
Yeah. At first, when I first started there, it was like a relief because the stress wasn't there. And after about 6 months, then it got very, very boring because in the court system, if the judge is not there, you don't have anything to do.
Mm.
So you're sitting there reading the paper or reading a book or trying to, we went from the federal courthouse to the bankruptcy court building. And, it's about a mile walk.
Mm.
But man, we would try to go down there and just have something to do.
Just to move.
Yeah. So I finally got to the point where I told my wife I gotta do something. So I put in for the chief's job in Elgin and Smithville, same time. And I interviewed in Elgin, and they ended up hiring a gentleman that they had already known. And so they hired him.
Hmm.
And then Smithville, I got the call from Smithville and went out and talked to them and became chief.
When was that?
That was in 93.
93.
Yeah.
And you stayed in Smithville for how long? I mean, you're still in Smithville, but how long did you work that job?
2002.
Okay.
My wife and I retired on the same day. She worked for DPS, and we retired on the same day. And then about 30 days later, we were going to Wichita, Kansas to visit a company that does pipeline safety programs.
Hmm.
So we went and talked to them and started working contract for them, traveled all over the country, and just had a great time.
What is a pipeline safety program?
It's pipeline companies are required to have these safety programs.
Hmm.
And so they hired this company to present them. So we go in and we set up all of our equipment, and then we do a video presentation. We feed them and tell them what happens if they hit that pipeline.
Mm.
We show some explosions, and it's pretty serious stuff.
So that's a pretty big departure from law enforcement work.
Kinda. We'd respond in law enforcement. We'd respond to an incident like that.
Yeah.
So, and that's what they were looking for. They were looking for retired firemen, retired law enforcement to do these programs. And I'm thinking there was about 20 of us that traveled the country doing that.
Why'd you get into law enforcement to begin with? Was that like a childhood dream? You wanted to be the sheriff?
I figured I'd be in prison, not law enforcement. But in Leander, we lived across the street from the chief of Leander. And we got to know him and his wife. They would come over for dinner and we'd play dominoes. And If he got a call, he'd have to go because he was kind of like a one man department.
Mm.
And so one night we were having dinner with him, and he got a call. A kid stole a vehicle, and so he said, "You want to go with me?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll ride with you." And it was an interesting ride. We chased this kid, and finally ended up getting him, and I just kind of fell in love with it.
Hmm.
And he said, "Well, there's a reserve school in Johnson City." And he said, I'll sign you up for it if you want to go through it." And I forget how many weeks it was, but it was like 3 nights a week, something like that. And so I went to that, became a reserve officer. And so he hired me as a reserve. And then that was in 78. And in 80, he left Leander, left the department. And so there was two of us. Well, there was actually three of us that had gone through the school, the reserve school, and so it came down between me and this other guy as to who was going to lead the department. And so they kind of give me the opportunity, and I told them, I said, I've never done that. I said I may not be the right person for it,
Mm.
but I said if you call me a supervisor or anything for 6 months or so, and then if you like what I'm doing, then you can hire me as the chief. If I like what I'm doing, I'll stay.
Mm.
And so they did that, and then after 6 months, I became chief.
It worked out.
Yeah,
And
had
how long were you there before making the move to U.S. Marshals?
um well, when I left Leander in 91, I just kind of we did some remodeling of the house in Leander. So I wasn't in any hurry to do anything. And then I got the opportunity to get into that security, court security. So I took that,
Mm.
and I was there for probably a year and a half. And I
Mm.
went to Quantico, Virginia for a week training for court security. And yeah, like I say, first 6 months it was great.
Yeah.
But then after that, I got so bored, I didn't want to go to work.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I had written down as a thing to ask you about is when you're doing a job like police work that has obvious meaning to it,
Yes.
and then you make a decision at some point, okay, I'm going to retire from doing this. Is it hard to find meaning after retirement from a job like that?
Yeah, it is. Well, when I left Smithville, there were some political issues going on, and the last 2 years I was there, I wasn't really happy
Hmm.
in that position, and then it kind of came to a head, and so I just decided it was time to move on.
Good time to move on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and my wife, she was ready to retire, so we just retired on the same day.
Uh, Talk to me about you raised a family during your professional life.
No, my wife
Your wife had a
raised a
family.
family, and that's one of the hardest things that I have to think about
Hmm.
and know that I messed up
Hmm.
because I lived and breathed law enforcement. I just did. Um, but being in a small town like Leander, there. I had a radio at my bedside. I had a pager at my bedside.
Hmm.
Wasn't nothing to go out at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, get called out. Um, and I didn't spend the time with my kids like I should have.
Hmm.
I regret that very much.
Yeah.
But my wife did a wonderful job.
How long you been married?
uh, 54 years.
54.
Yes. Hard to believe she put up with me that long, but she
54
did.
years. I had my 15th wedding anniversary this year, and it seems like forever. Yeah, it's this has come up in a couple conversations recently, though I don't think it's come up in here. You talk to people about seasons of life, and if you think about a year as 4 seasons, so if you split a year into 4 equal parts,
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about a 3-month period.
Mm-hmm.
But if you split say 100-year lifespan into 4 parts, that's 25
25
years.
years.
That's a long time
Yes, sir.
to call a season.
Yeah.
When you look back at your life in hindsight, do you recognize those different seasonal elements? And where do you feel like you are in this season?
No, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's hard to answer.
What is your wife in the way that you're made up naturally and the way that your wife is made up naturally? What does she do that you have a tough time with, and what is the thing that you fill her gaps in? Do you spend a lot of time thinking about that? Your relationship with your bride?
I I do.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to anniversaries and birthdays and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But as you get older, you tend to kind of draw a little bit apart from your wife.
Hmm.
And we don't do the things we used to do. We don't go like we used to do, and but we still love each other very much. We argue sometimes, but usually she's right, and even when she's wrong, she's right. I learned that a long time ago.
Mhm.
But yeah, we're right now we concentrate on our family and our grandkids and our great grandkids, and we just spoil the heck out of them and then send them home.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good life.
I've not met any person, I would say, in your age bracket that doesn't have some similar commentary on their time with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think I've met a man that I admire who doesn't have some of those regrets in hindsight.
Oh yeah. Oh, I regret it, and I've told my kids that.
Yeah.
Um,
But you still have a relationship with your kids.
very much, very much. We have kids that live in Giddings and in Lincoln and in Georgetown.
Yeah.
And we still have family. We have a family gathering every year. We like to go out to Lake Buchanan and just spend the week out there and just have a good time. We babysit the grandkids and the great grandkids, and yeah, we're just having a good time with them.
Is it avoidable? Is that the thing you're talking about, the regrets that are there? If you're an ambitious man who feels a calling to care for his family and provide for his family, is that regret avoidable at all? Like if I'm still in it, I've got a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, so I'm still in the upbringing years.
Right.
But
Spend as much time with them as you can.
yeah, Lee,
and teach them, and you're doing a good job of that. I can tell. And I was telling Pat that the other day. We were talking about this, what I was going to do today, and we were talking about that. I said Tanner he's a very good man. His kids are just as polite as could be, and when they come over, first thing they say is "How are you, Mr. Nusbaum?" and they shake hands, and that's you can be proud of that. You really can. And I wish I'd have done a whole lot more of that when I was growing up.
I do appreciate that. Being that I'm still in that upbringing time period,
Yes, sir.
I can tell you that there's weeks that go by where even if I'm physically present around the boys, I'm not mentally present.
Yeah.
And I have regrets if I have a month where it's really intense in what I'm doing professionally or what I'm doing out on the ranch,
Right.
just takes me away from the boys more,
Right.
or from Ashton more.
Yes, sir.
I get those regrets even after a month of time
Yeah.
away from them like I'd want to be.
Yeah.
So is it avoidable at all? Even if you were acutely aware of every moment you were spending around your family, if you're a ambitious person that feels a calling to provide, is that
Mhm.
even a thing that you could head off at the pass, or is it just part of
No, it's part of life.
yeah.
It's just part of life, and don't live and sleep and eat your profession.
Mm,
You know, you gotta, and that's where I messed up. I didn't leave it at work. I would go home with it. You know, I regret that.
mm.
Really do. Yeah,
If you had it to do over again, when did you get
I
into
would do it
policing? How
different.
how old were you when you got into policing?
I was probably 31,
Okay.
something like that. 30, 31.
Would you still go into police work? Given all that you know now in hindsight.
I probably would, but
Yeah,
I would do it totally different.
sure.
Yeah. And back then it was, small community was where I was at.
Mm,
And so I really didn't have a desire to be in a big department. I really enjoyed the small community. And we had a lot of good times, and we had a police association that we had a good time with. We always did stuff on holidays, and a lot of times we involved the kids. But for the most part, for growing up, I should have spent a lot more time with them.
mm.
Yeah,
So is that just the nature of a small town
it
police
is.
department is
Yeah,
you only
especially
got a
when
couple
it's
people?
a two-man department.
Yeah.
you know, when I first started, and I was, like I say, I was a reserve, and then that was in '78. I become the reserve. And then in '79, I got the opportunity to go to the police academy in San Marcos. The problem was there again, I would go to bed at night sometimes. I'd get up at 5 o'clock and I'd drive to San Marcos
Mm,
from Leander and then be in school all day. And then about 5 o'clock, I'd be in Austin traffic going back home. And there was a lot of times I'd be sitting there and somebody'd have to honk at me to wake me up.
mm.
I'd sit there in traffic and go to sleep. I'd go home. First thing I'd do, take shower, eat supper, and then go to work. And then if everything was good, usually 10, 11 o'clock, I could go home and just be on call. If it was busy, then I had to stay and do it and then go to school the next day. So I did that for 3 months.
Mm,
If I had the opportunity to do it again, I would change some things.
mm. Yeah, my dad had a work schedule that made us kind of ships passing in the night for a lot of my
Mhm.
upbringing.
Yeah.
But from in this case, the child's perspective, yes, you want your dad at home as much as possible, and when he's there, it's special.
Mhm.
But there's another perspective on that I got to see my dad's willing to get up at 3 in the morning and go to work
Oh, yeah.
and have to go to bed early as a result and miss
Yes,
out
sir.
on a lot of things and do it every single day for he's
Yeah.
been with FedEx now for 47 years, I think, 48
Wow.
years, and he doesn't miss work.
Yeah.
So while I understand this side of it,
Yeah.
that a kid would want to see his dad as much as possible, I also know that there's this side that
Right. He's providing,
he's
and he's gonna
providing.
provide, and that's the key. My dad was the same way. He was my dad worked in hotel. He worked selling ice cream, whatever it took to provide for the family.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of times in the wintertime we'd starve,
Mm,
but he was always trying.
yeah.
And he'd always, I know when we moved to Texas from Wichita, Kansas, um, at some point, well, we sold ice cream for many years. Actually drove the little ice cream truck with the music
Is
box.
that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And did that. And then when the ice cream company quit doing that, he went to work for a car wash out on South Lamar in Austin, and we lived on South Sixth Street, which was off of Old Torf. And every day he would get up and he would walk to work, and then in the evening when he shut the car wash down, he would walk home. He did that for many years,
Wow.
but still trying to provide.
What was your relationship like with your dad?
Kind of like I think it's kind of like mine with my kids. Um, didn't get to spend a lot of time with dad. You know, it was I guess biggest thing I remember is always 4th of July,
Hmm.
and he would get a big old tub, fill it full of ice and soda water, and we'd get a bunch of fireworks and go out in the country and just have a good day and pop fireworks and uh, but I guess that's the main thing I remember.
Yeah. How long has he been gone?
He's been gone for many years. He died in I don't remember the exact year he passed away,
Hmm.
but he's been gone a while. He died of cancer.
Died of cancer.
Yeah,
What about your mom?
she's been gone for quite a while.
Hmm.
She died from she had type 1 diabetes, and then she had a heart attack while she was in the hospital
Hmm.
and passed away. But
Hmm. What do people not understand about police work? For somebody that's never done it or never even really spent a lot of time in what I would call a chaotic environment. As a cop,
yeah,
I'm assuming you're dealing with a little bit of chaos every day.
yeah, and people don't understand that police officers are human beings.
Hmm.
You know, where they sit there and watch us on TV, and they can uh, armchair quarterback it. We can't.
Hmm.
When you're out there doing a job, um, you got to make some tough decisions in seconds. And perfect examples that's that case they're doing now with that Austin police officer that they charged him with reckless conduct because he killed this man who was shooting a gun through the door, I guess through the door of his apartment or house, and the officer ended up having to take his life.
Hmm.
And so, um, that officer, I feel for him because they're tough. And another case, the yogurt shop murders. You know, I feel bad that those 4 guys were wrongly accused of that,
Hmm.
but uh, I don't know the full story. You know, and so I don't know what those officers were going through when they were working that case.
Hmm.
But it's hard, and people don't understand that like I say, we're human and we're gonna make mistakes.
Hmm.
But we try very hard not to, and uh, you know, we go home and cry. When we work a really bad case. I've worked a few bad cases, and it took its toll.
Yeah.
But people just need to realize that police officers are there to help them, but the respect is not there like it used to be. Used to when I was growing up, I always remember my dad telling me, if you ever get stopped by a police officer, I don't care if you're right or wrong, you better respect that officer. And I did because I knew what would happen if I didn't.
Hmm.
And but people don't do that today. A lot of times the people are kids are encouraged to not be respectful to law enforcement. Used to, if I caught a kid doing something wrong, I'd take him to mom and dad, and I had a couple kids say, "Man, I wish you'd take me to jail because I don't
Instead of
want
to
to go
mom
to
and
mom
dad.
and
Yeah.
dad." But that's not the way it is anymore nowadays. If you catch a kid doing something, you call a parent. They want to know why you're harassing their kids.
Mm.
So it's a different world. And it's not just law enforcement, it's in everything. Our world is in trouble.
Yeah.
It really is. And if we don't get back to God, if we don't get God back into our lives, back into our schools, um, yeah, it's I think he's coming back
Mm.
before long.
Mm.
I really do.
How does it, I want to get back to the God topic because I know you're a man of faith and it's important to me to talk to you about it.
Mhm.
Um, before we pivot away from the policing conversation completely, seems like it'd be really difficult now to sell a 22-year-old kid on going into police work as a way to make a living.
It is. It is. I've used to it was you need to get a job where you can make a living,
Hmm.
but now it's more of you need to think about not going into law enforcement mainly for the safety reasons. You know, and examples is where the officers are sitting in their patrol cars and somebody pulls up beside them and kills them.
Mm.
That's getting a lot more prevalent now, and that's happening a lot more. So um, I think of the safety. My son-in-law is assistant chief of police, and um, our granddaughter's husband is a police officer in Smithfield. Matter of fact,
Is that right?
yeah. So and that it's a good career if everything goes right.
Yeah. So make that pitch. If you're talking to a 22-year-old who's considering it, what's the sales pitch for law enforcement as a profession?
Sales pitch is you do it. You got to know why you're doing it. If you're not doing it for the right reason, don't do it
Yeah.
because it's like say when I went to Smithville, it certainly wasn't for the money.
Yeah. What is the right reason?
Right reason was to be in law enforcement and to actually make a difference.
Hmm.
That was always my thought. There was never any in my whole career. It was never black and white.
Hmm.
It was always right or wrong. If I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, purple, whatever, as long as you're doing what's right, we have no problem. But if you're doing something breaking the law, then we're going to get involved in that. And so, and there's always, you've got, in my opinion, you've got the letter of the law, and then you have the spirit of the law. And that's where police officers have a discretion.
Hmm.
And, it's stop somebody for speeding. They may have a reason, and you accept that and give them a warning.
Hmm.
you know, but um, but do it for the right reason, and um, yeah, that's what I would tell them. I would if your heart's set on it, then do it, but do it for the right reason.
After 30, how many years you say? 30,
35.
35 years of police work. I imagine you're probably pretty hard to rattle. You,
I don't know. It seems like my patience is wearing thinner
hmm,
with people. I don't know why.
hmm,
I don't know why, but I guess because of so many years of dealing with the public and having to deal with it a certain way,
hmm.
and now you don't have to. Um, I don't know. My patience it wears thin sometimes.
Yeah, that's a question that I ask pretty much everybody that comes in here. It's like the one question I ask repeatedly is about when you're living in a world full of chaos and news cycles that feed you nothing but pessimism and
Yes.
reasons to believe that we're going to hell in a handbasket,
Yes.
where you're finding a source of optimism. Like if you're talking to a younger person and you're saying, hey, in my 78 years of life, I've seen a lot,
Yeah.
but here's the reasons I'm optimistic for the future.
Well, that goes back to God.
Okay.
You know, as growing up, I was, I mean, I'm a sinner. God knows I'm a sinner, but God has he turned my life around,
Can you tell that story? When
and
did that happen?
I don't really know the exact time that it happened. Um, I don't know. I know when we moved to Smithville, we went to a church, and we weren't real happy with that church. And so then we heard about the um, cowboy church. So we decided to try that, and we fell in love with the cowboy church.
Mm.
Um, I can remember the preacher. Uh, we were having a program, and at the end of the program, he asked for anyone that wanted to come up, and talk or pray, be prayed over. And so I went up there, and man, I ended up bawling like a baby, and he
Mm.
did too. And we prayed, and I think that really was a eye opener for me.
Mm.
And then being, I mean, I got more into the Bible. Um, Still, a whole lot of it I don't know. A whole lot of it I don't understand. But I still believe God's got the plan for us, and we just got to have the faith. And that's where faith is something that we're losing in our world. We're not we're not being there.
Do you feel like there's a return to it now? Do you have any evidence for that? You sense it at all?
I think Charlie Kirk was evidence that the younger people are returning to faith
Hmm.
and returning to God. I think, um, Charlie did a. I think he did a wonderful, wonderful thing. Um, it's amazing just to listen to him, and it's amazing to hear him talk to young people. Um, and they get pretty nasty with him, and he could shut them down,
Mm.
in a good way.
Yeah, he was pretty well read for a 31-year-old.
He was, he
Mhm.
was, and that um, I think with his murder, um, I think that opened a lot of eyes of young people, and so you're seeing more and more, I believe, of the young people in school even trying to get back to God.
Mm.
And the some of our leaders are trying to do the same thing. I'm a true believer. We ought to have those 10 commandments posted on that wall.
Mm.
And if you don't want to read them, that's up to you. But I think that should be part of teaching.
Mm.
In my opinion, God created us. He created the world. And so we ought to spend time teaching our young people about God.
You pray a lot
Yes,
every
every
day?
day, every day.
What's your prayer practice like? You do it like first thing in the morning? You just pray all day long? What's your
Pretty much all day long. Different times of the day. Uh, I wake up in the morning, I thank God for letting me wake up, and I ask God to walk with me, hit me upside the head when I need it, because there's times um, I get off track, and so I ask Him to put me back, and then when we started our new church, um, I had the opportunity to become an elder in a church, uh, and so I've been trying to learn and try to do what I need to do as an elder, and and I try to talk to people whenever I can about God, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're
Mm.
supposed to raise Christ-like families, and it's fun to do that.
Okay, so I have a question for you on that front. In my sort of journey with faith in and out of churches and private schools, and like I was exposed to it from a young age,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in a healthy context, sometimes not in a healthy context. But now as an adult, looking in hindsight at just say like the last 5 years of my life,
Mm-hmm.
I have these periods where certain things will happen in a certain order that seems very unlikely that it happened by chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it's most of these times in my life I can articulate where I felt like God moved in my life.
Oh yeah.
I see it in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't have in my own personal experience is a moment where I felt like God spoke to me in the moment.
I go I go I go through that. I go through that, and matter of fact, I've within the past year, I've told several people. People will they'll 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 say, I was getting ready to go to work this morning, and I was looking in the mirror, and God told me, and I'm thinking, okay, I would love to experience that. I would love to hear God talk to me, but um, but I think I actually experienced it finally, and it's really weird. We were talking about, well, we invited a singer. This young lady um, is a fantastic gospel singer. Her and her ex-husband, he passed away. Um, he was a preacher, and they would go around and they would sing, and she has this beautiful voice. So we invited her to our church, and she came and did a program. And I don't know what it was, but after that program, it's like God told me, you need to have a revival on your new property. I mean, it's like he put it on my heart.
Hmm.
And
What did it sound
and it's
like?
been there ever since.
What did it sound like? What was the experience of
I
it?
don't know. It was like something the singer Christine, something in her message,
Hmm.
just yeah, it's like he I woke up the next morning and said, we need to do a revival, and I'd never done that
Hmm.
before, um, but and I think that's how he doesn't come out and talk to you. We can't hear him, we can't see him, but we have that faith that he's there and that he is doing and that he is telling us what we need to do and where we need to be.
Have you ever met somebody that you considered to be credible that has had an actual audible "I heard God speak" kind of experience?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
I've met I have one guy that was a mentor to me a little bit when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
who I take seriously, who had an audible God experience in his
Wow.
kitchen, and it happened twice. It happened once. He got up from the table. He was so spooked by it. It was by himself at home,
Yeah.
walking around his house, and it happened again.
Yeah.
But it's the only version of that story I've ever heard that I thought,
Right.
okay, that could be real.
Yeah.
Because most of the time
And
people talk about it, and it's
you see the movies,
uh,
the kid I think that I think died and went to heaven,
mhm.
or there's there's a couple of them, a couple of those shows. I don't remember the name of them now. One of them was I know the word courage was in it,
Mm.
but I don't remember what it was. But they were, yeah. They when you listen to that and see that kind of stuff, yeah, it makes you think.
Yeah. I've heard some sort of anecdotal things about people seeing their body from above,
Mm-hmm.
having a death experience,
Mm-hmm.
seeing people enter the room after they were medically dead,
I thought
being revived, and
yeah,
knowing, hey, this person was in the room.
I thought I had that when I had my heart attack.
You had a heart
And
attack.
yeah, I
I
had a
didn't know
heart
you had a
attack.
heart attack.
It's been quite a few years ago, and they flew me to Austin by helicopter, and so I'm in the operating room, and so I'm laying there, and I remember going into the operating room because my daughter was standing down at the end of the hall, waving at me, and so we were in the operating room, and so all of a sudden I hear this, Mr. Nusbaum, Mr. Nusbaum. And I look up and I see this bright light. And then I see this nurse standing there, and she said, "There you are." I said, "What'd you do? Lose me?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, don't do that no more." But I saw that bright light and I thought, boy, this is it.
Whoa. How old were you when that happened?
I was probably 60, let's see, probably 56. Something like
56.
that. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
What were you doing when it happened?
Well, I was at home and I was a smoker. But I was at home and I was getting ready to go to bed. And I started feeling bad. And I would lay down and then I'd get up and I'd go to the restroom, and I'd go outside, and I'd go back and lay down again, and there it was again. It wasn't really a sharp pain. It was just a pain, you know, uh, just being uncomfortable. And then I laid there, and I'd get in the fetal position, and it just wasn't getting no better. So I told my wife, I said, I think it's time to go. So she drove me to the hospital and went in there, and I remember the nurse, first thing she said was, "Are you always that white, or is something going on?" And I said, "I think there's something going on." So they hooked me up to the machines, and sure enough, I was having a heart attack. And I remember the doctor standing there telling them to give me morphine, um, and then I remember him telling them to call for the helicopter.
You were in Smithville at the time?
Yeah, sure
Wow.
was. So I went to the hospital. They put a stent in, and then I was in the hospital for like 3 days. And um, I remember my daughter coming in and talking to me, and she smoked too. And I remember her telling me, "Dad, seeing you like this makes me think I need to quit smoking." And I said, "Well, I'll make you a deal. If you don't light one, I won't light one." And I haven't lit one since.
Is that right?
That's right. Cold turkey. Cold turkey. And it was tough. They called me Kojak because I sucked on those Tootsie Roll Pops like Kojak did. Yeah. So that was awakening. And I'd love to have one, but I know I can't.
Yeah. My dad smoked for many years, and I was there the day that he quit, and he was
Uh,
halfway through a cigarette, and he put it down on the ground. We were at hunting camp.
yeah,
He put it on the ground and he stepped on it, and he said, I think I'm going to be done smoking. And he hadn't touched them since.
that's great.
But I know it's hard on him.
Yeah, and my wife did. She quit cold turkey, and it was shoot, that's been like 30, 40 years.
Wow.
And but she had bronchitis quite a bit.
Mm.
And so it was like doctor finally told her, said, you either smoke or live,
Yeah.
So she quit.
That's sometimes what it takes, huh? What characterizes a cowboy church? You've told me about your cowboy church a lot.
It's a culture.
It's a culture.
You don't have to be a cowboy. You just have to believe in the culture.
Tell me about the culture. What are the cultural elements?
Well, the culture is it's kind of like we tell people when you come to cowboy church, you don't have to dress up.
Mm.
Wear your old blue jeans. We don't care. You don't come to church for how you look. It's what's in your heart.
Mm.
And so that brings people to cowboy church. And the other thing I think is the fellowship, the brotherhood, when Sunday morning we're standing there and people come in, we hug them, we shake hands, we welcome them, and we have a lot of people who come to visit our cowboy church, and they'll come back and they'll say the reason we come back is because we feel like we're loved
Mm.
when we walk through them doors, and that's kind of what cowboy is all about. And then we try to do stuff just like this property. Eventually, we'll build an arena, and we'll have goat roping and steer roping, things like that.
So there is a cowboy
Yeah.
element to it.
There is.
Yeah.
There is, and we have a chuck wagon.
Okay.
We've got a young man that's he's retired military, and he has his own chuck wagon. He brings it to different events that we have, and cooks. He does a program in Fort Hood that is I don't remember the name of it, but it's they do it once a year, and there's like 7 or 8 different chuck wagons set up, and they cook different things, and all of the military and their families are invited.
How cool is
Doesn't
that?
cost anything, so we go out there, and me and my wife went one time, and it was very impressive
Huh.
to see that. So, and the biscuits and gravy are really good.
Yeah. Biscuits and gravy from a chuck wagon.
Yes,
That's as authentic as it
so
gets.
we actually have a men's breakfast, and we have one tomorrow morning
Okay.
at 7:30. So if you're not doing anything, come on out. We're going to actually have it on the new property. We don't have a building or anything, but
Okay.
we're going to have the men's breakfast, and then we're going to work on the fence
Okay.
rest of the day. So, yeah,
We'll get info from you on it.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a fellowship, and we hear testimonials or devotionals, or we just sit there and talk, and eat.
The cowboy culture is something I got to witness firsthand this last week. I lost an uncle
Mm.
who was a rodeoer. He was my great uncle. My great aunt was a rodeoer. She was NFR barrel racer. Both of her kids, my second cousins, were both rodeoers. And my aunt and uncle were part of a senior rodeo tour.
Oh, wow.
And it's a community of people that I had always heard from them. They had this rodeo community that they were all really close with.
Yes.
Going to Bobby's funeral was unlike any funeral I've ever been to.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, for one thing, every man in that building, besides me and a handful of my family members, had a cowboy hat on.
Yeah.
which you notice immediately walking in. But it's the most well-attended funeral I've been to for somebody that wasn't like a you know, from somebody that didn't have a big name.
Yeah.
I've been to some funerals of people that had big names that were big, fill the church type things, but
Right.
this was different, man. And it was talking to my Aunt Nancy afterwards. I said, you always mentioned before the community you have in the rodeo, and I didn't really get to see it until today. And she said, Tanner, those are real friends.
Yeah.
She said,
Yeah.
you've got friends,
Yep.
and then you've got that kind of friend.
Well, and the rodeo circuit it's like a church in itself.
Mm.
You know, if you ever watch a rodeo, you watch that guy that rides that bull and gets thrown off. What is it he always does? Thanks God.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a lot of that in rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's part of the cowboy culture, and it's bringing the kids. It's bringing the kids to God. Like a lot of times on the church we used to go to on Thursday night, they have a church service out in the arena for the kids. And sometimes they do a horseback gospel where the preacher be sitting on the horse talking. We've been to those. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
There's something to that culture. When you
Yeah.
see it firsthand, it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yes.
There's something different about these friendships.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's it's different. I mean, to me it's just more friendly.
Mm.
And you're not judged, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
It
it's
was
a
neat
good
to get to
culture.
see people that knew my family member better than I knew him.
Yeah. Yeah.
They knew parts of him that I just never got to experience. As you get older, typically you get more and more set in your ways, more and more confident in your wisdom. And I've met enough older people to know that age doesn't necessarily equal wisdom.
Right.
That you can meet some older folks that I wouldn't consider to be wise. I wouldn't go to for advice.
Yeah.
In your life experience, can you tell me a time where you thought one way about something and then had your mind changed?
Um,
I'm putting you on the spot, but is there anything that you felt to be the truth and you were presented with evidence that you couldn't look the other way on, and you had to go, okay, I got to change my mind on that?
there's probably is, but I just can't think of what it was.
Okay. You'll think of it after we get done and we
Yeah,
turn the
probably
cameras
will.
off, and then you'll think, there was that one thing that I could have brought.
But I know what you're talking about, and I've
To me, it's one of the if you asked anybody that considered themselves an adult, I'm spending a lot of time thinking about this concept right now.
mm-hmm.
There's not a dividing line in age where somebody reaches adulthood. I'm convinced of that. Legally, you've got 18, you've got
Right.
21, you got 25.
Right.
But I know a lot of 40-year-old children, that
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider to be adults. But if you sat with somebody and you said, give me the defining characteristics of adulthood,
Mm-hmm.
one that I think people would all agree on is being willing to evaluate your own firmly held beliefs and being willing to change your mind
Yeah.
when
And
presented with better evidence.
Yeah. I can see that. I've always been, I guess you'd say old school was coming up. You know, you take like gay people.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be dead set against that. But since I have started my walk with Christ again, um, I've come to realize, and I had to, it's not up to me.
Mm.
That's, I can believe whatever I want, but the judge is he will do the judging of people, just like he's going to judge me.
Mm-hmm.
And Um, but I've changed my mind. People probably won't like me for saying this,
Hmm.
but um, used to, I was brought up that you didn't live together if you weren't married. I've changed my mind.
Hmm.
And what changed my mind, I think, is the amount of divorces. You know, when my oldest son, he talked about getting married back when, and I said, well, if if it was if it were me, I would tell you, live together for 5 years, go out, do whatever y'all want to do, don't have any kids,
Hmm.
have fun, enjoy life, enjoy being married. And then if you still feel the same about each other after 5 years, get married, start your family, and go for that.
Hmm.
So I had to change my mind on that.
Yeah. It's a
That's
fundamental
what.
part of the Christian faith, and it hits you hard when you read the Bible that your tendency is to be judgmental of people, but the reality
Yes,
is all have sinned,
that's
and
exactly right.
judge
There's
not
only
lest ye be judged.
one perfect, and yeah,
Yeah.
yep, we're all sinners.
Yeah. Well, Lee, I met you on the internet buying a chipper shredder from
Right.
you and got to know you through that
Yep.
and through various mowers and chainsaws and weed eaters that don't work and
Tillers.
tillers. Yeah, old great grandpa's old
Yeah,
tillers.
that's a good tiller.
1974 is when that
Yes.
tiller was bought. I
Yes.
found out that from my
That
grandpa
thing
this
sounded
week.
good.
Oh, I'm excited to go till with it.
Yep.
But man, I appreciate that I know you. I'm glad I get to know you and interact with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah,
I've
and
learned a lot from you just in a short period of time. One of the things that I admire about you most is that I've seen you in a position to be petty and you haven't.
Mm.
I've seen you let things that would bother me deeply just not bother you much. Like, well, it'll get worked out how it's supposed to.
Right.
I admire that in you.
Thank
So
you.
I
Thank
feel fortunate to know you.
Well, I'm glad to know you, and I'm glad to know your family. Your kids are just they're wonderful.
Thank you for saying so.
It's amazing when if all kids were like that, it'd be a whole different world.
They'll love hearing that Mr. Nusbaum had that to say about them. So,
Yeah,
thank
good
you.
kids.
And thank you for being willing to do this. I know
Yes,
this
sir.
isn't super comfortable to do, but you did great.
Oh, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Good.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you.